So you got a new ball python, and the breeder told you it was a few different morphs, but you don't know. Or maybe the snake was listed as a normal, but you're seeing something else in there. Or maybe it's just supposed to be inchy, but what does that even mean? Today we're going to talk about how to figure out what morphs your snake has. I'm going to give you a few examples using Ron and Delilah's new clutch. They're 3 weeks old and they are stunners. Welcome to the Green Room. I'm Bob Bledsoe. This is Ron. And behind the camera is my brother Kent capturing the magic on what is likely a used VHS tape. We're recording this over Mom's copy of On Golden Pond. Don't tell her. Well, your secret's safe with me, as long as she doesn't watch this episode. Oh, she does watch this. Yep. Dang it. It's sometimes very difficult to know what morphs are in your snake if you don't know the pairing or you don't know the breeder that you bought it from. A lot of times people come back from their first reptile show with their first ball python in a deli cup, and they're so excited. They're trying to remember what the snake is because the breeder told them, but the breeder also told them the genetics of 5 other snakes that they were looking at before they decided on this one. So they've got all these morphs swimming around in their brain and they can't remember. So now they're going on Facebook with pictures of the snake, asking people if they think that this is a super albino het inchy 66% dinker. And they're getting slammed in the comments by people with low self-esteem who just found somebody new to ball pythons. It's not super helpful. So I tell people every time they send me a picture of their snake asking me to identify it that I am not a morph expert. I'm not that guy. But that's okay for what we're doing today. I can't go over every gene that's in ball pythons today, but we're going to look at a few and you're going to get an idea, hopefully, of how you can figure out what's in your snake. Let's start out with Ron and Delilah, and then we'll get to their clutch. Ron here is a great example. He is inchy, spot nose, asphalt. Now, I bought this from Tallgrass Reptiles, and I trust the breeder very much when he told me what the snake was, but I also can tell visually a couple of those genes. Spot nose, I'm familiar with, and I know what the head stamp looks like on a spot nose, and it's also got some striping sometimes on the dorsal, but I can easily see spot nose in this snake. Inchy, I'm also familiar with, but it's a little bit more subtle on this snake. So I've got to look at certain clues that I know about inchy, the wide eye stripes, the slightly more aberrant or banded pattern on this snake, and I can then tell that it's inchy. If I didn't know inchy and I didn't know spot nose very well, what I would do is look up combos on Morph Market. This is a really good way to do it. You can isolate different combos on Morph Market. I can put in that I only want to see snakes that are spot nose inchy, and then I'll put that have ever sold. So not just ones that are currently for sale. And once I hit those parameters, it'll show me everything that's ever been on Morph Market that's a spot nose inchy. And you know, snakes have there's a lot of variation in the patterns, but I'll start to get an idea of what those snakes should look like. If I add asphalt in, now this is not going to be a full genetics video, so I'm not going to explain everything, but asphalt is trickier because it's a gene that looks just like yellow belly. And so I could put in spot nose, inchy, yellow belly and get an animal that looks pretty much like this. Or I could put in spot nose, inchy, asphalt, and I'd probably see less snakes because yellow belly is more common than asphalt is. But that's a way to start to see what those animals look like. The other thing I can do is just do a YouTube search of anyone doing a clutch reveal. You know the ball python breeders that are on YouTube love to do clutch reveals. We're going to do one today. Of snakes with those combos. And a lot of times, depending on who the breeder is, sometimes they just go, yeah, here's this one, and here's this one, and here's this one. But sometimes they also tell you what they're seeing in the snake. So it's good to do those kind of searches. But back to asphalt. With a morph like asphalt, you just have to trust the breeder. And it's tough because this is the case for a lot of things. Genes that look like, or morphs that look like other morphs, for one thing. Blue-eyed leucistics could potentially have another gene. And if the breeder tells you that it does have another, I should say morph, has another morph, then you got to decide whether you want to believe them or not. Same with ivories. There's a number of scenarios where you might not see a specific morph in a snake, but the breeder knows it's in there because his animal was a super, or it's het. You know, a het is also a thing. If the animal's heterozygous for a recessive morph, then only the breeder would know that because he knows what the pairing was. And if he has a visual of that recessive morph paired with something else, then all the babies will be hets. So finding out what the parents were is really important, and being able to trust your breeder that you're buying from is important. This is Delilah, the mama of the clutch that you're about to see. And Delilah right now is expressing a morph called full-on zombie mode. I'm kidding, but she is in shed right now. So Delilah is a Freeway Pastel Orange Dream. Now this is interesting because I bought her from John at John's Jungle, who I know pretty well and trust. But she has kind of a aberrant pattern for a Freeway, but I can definitely tell because of my knowledge of what a Freeway looks like. I've seen a lot of videos on Freeways, and I've seen a lot of Morph Market ads for Freeways. Now, here's one thing. I can't tell a Freeway from a highway. Maybe some of you can. In fact, I'm sure some of you can, but I can't. Again, not to get too deep into genetics, but a Freeway is the combination of yellow belly and asphalt. So I know that this snake has yellow belly and asphalt, but if she was a highway, she'd be a combination of yellow belly and gravel. To me, they look the same. So I've got to, again, trust my breeder on that one, but also generally know what they look like. Now, I also know that most Freeways are dark brown. If it's just a straight Freeway, it's dark brown. A pastel Freeway is going to take it all the way to the light side. So she is clearly pastel to me because I've seen this combination. If I hadn't seen the combination, I'd be looking up on Morph Market, I'd be checking videos, stuff like that. But this is a very easy thing to figure out. Her head is totally blushed out. Now, when I bought this snake from John, he told me that there was Orange Dream in the pairing, but he didn't see Orange Dream in her, and I didn't either, and I never had. As she's grown, she's become more yellow, and that might be the Orange Dream coming out a little bit. She used to be stark white, now she's more yellow. But I never considered her Orange Dream. Well, she proved out to be Orange Dream with this clutch, so we're adding that to her morphs. Want to see that clutch? I think they do want to see your clutch. They're going to see your babies, and we'll put you back so you can shed. This is my first Freeway clutch, which is very exciting, but things are complicated because I have 6 different morphs at play. And so I can do all the research I want on Morph Market and looking at all these possible combinations, checking out YouTube videos, stuff like that. But the best way to do this is to get a hold of a couple breeders who have been breeding Freeways for much longer than I have, that have the experience at looking at these babies and getting their opinions. So I reached out to Dave Palumbo. Dave has a fantastic YouTube channel called Muscle Serpents University. I highly recommend it. He breeds tons of ball pythons, he breeds tons of boas, and he has a lot of experience in Freeway combos. So I did a Zoom call with him, and we're going to cut that in as we go through these snakes. And then after I talked to Dave, I talked to John at John's Jungle because John produced Delilah, and he has a lot of he has a ton of experience in many snakes, many different types of snakes, but lots of Freeway experience, and specifically lots of pastel Freeway experience. Pastel is a gene that really messes with Freeway combos. Hi folks, Future Bob here. As you may well know, we wear very fancy hats in the future. I wanted to cut in here real quick and finish making a point that past Bob started, but because he's not very eloquent, he never finished. The point being that a really great way to help you figure out morphs is to make friends in the reptile community. So Bob reached out to another YouTuber who also watches his channel, so it was appropriate to reach out because past Bob and Dave have spoken before, and he reached out to the breeder who bred the female snake that produced this clutch. So keeping in touch with the breeders that you buy your snakes from is really great because sometimes they can be very helpful, and then making friends that have a lot of knowledge. Making friends at reptile shows and things like that know more than you is really helpful. By the way, we're only cutting to Dave Palumbo when we talk about the Freeway or Super Asphalt combos. The other stuff that didn't turn out Freeway or Super Asphalt, I'm just going to tell you how I came up with what morphs are in those snakes. Okay, we're just going to go least genes to most genes, or maybe the most basic to the craziest looking. So this is just a Enchi yellow belly or asphalt. And the reason I say yellow belly or asphalt is because in the single gene form, we don't know which one it is. But based on Delilah's genetics, again, I don't want to get totally into allelic genes, but based on Delilah, we know that she has to give either a yellow belly or an asphalt morph to every snake in the clutch. So we know they have that because of that. But then Inchy, if I know Inchy, I can see that this snake's a really good example of it. We see some banding over the back, and I can look for that. And then I can look at these sort of wider eye stripes that Inchy tends to have. And because this snake doesn't have a million genes going on, I can see Inchy pretty well in this. I just want to say that throughout this video, Past Bob is trying to use the correct terminology and say morph instead of gene, but he fails, and he just says them both interchangeably. I don't want to say that it's because he's super dumb, but I don't know how else to say it. And if I didn't know Inchy, I would start doing my research on Morph Market and on YouTube to see what the characteristics of Inchy look like. Also, the characteristics of asphalt or yellow belly, we have this nice flaming where it looks like an eraser came in and erased some of this darker pattern and made kind of an orangey white-ish. We've got a little bit of a blushed head stamp there. It's also a brightening. We've got a brighter snake because of that yellow belly or asphalt. There are some people who say they can tell the difference between yellow belly and asphalt, and they might be able to, but I don't think that it's reliable enough to slap the stamp on a snake of being asphalt and selling it as that, because asphalt sells for a lot more than yellow belly. So this snake will sell as a yellow belly, and it might be an asphalt. This little girl is an Orange Dream yellow belly or asphalt. She's one of the snakes that came out Orange Dream. Also, Past Bob forgot that pastel is a thing on a couple of snakes. I'll make note of it as it comes up. This one is pastel. I just pulled her out of her hide. She's sleeping a little bit. But we can see that she's got these flames on the side, again, consistent with yellow belly or asphalt. She's got a nice yellow color and orange flames. I'm hoping my phone camera here picks this up. She's got these nice orange, well, the flames, but the inside, what we would call the alien heads, she's got orange coloring coming out there, which would be the Orange Dream. And she's also got kind of a funky pattern that Orange Dream will give to a snake. So this kind of, these alien heads came out sort of weird. There's one that's actually banded going across, which would be consistent with Inchy, but I don't think this snake is Inchy. I think that's Orange Dream doing that. There's that snake. Really, really cool little girl. Girl? Yeah, girl. This little boy right here is a Freeway, and that was pretty clear to me because this is exactly what you look for in just a Freeway, a yellow belly asphalt snake. And Dave confirmed it for me, though. It's good to have confirmation because I thought, maybe he's Inchy as well.
The dark one, like the dark one?
The dark Freeway, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely Freeway because you can see that dorsal line. Doesn't have to be connected, but the fact that it's like dashes, like really, it looks like the stuff like you'd see on a highway,
Right.
And I guess that's why they call it Freeway. It's like the freeway lines, that's typical like textbook, Freeway right there.
Right. Now, is that my other question is, I can't tell a Mardi Gras. I can't tell an Inchy Freeway from a regular.
Yeah, an Inchy Freeway, usually those dotted dashed lines on the dorsal surface are usually connected.
So this is a cool little snake. This is probably one that I'm going to hold back because I wanted a snake that contains asphalt, which this one is asphalt and yellow belly. I needed a male that's asphalt but not spot nose because I want to breed that asphalt with some of my other spot nose asphalts. And I don't want to, I'm not trying to get a super asphalt because that sometimes causes neurological problems. Nope. Past Bob meant to say that super spot nose is what causes potential neurological problems. Super asphalt is great. I am really sorry that Past Bob is your host for this show. I don't know what else to say. Super cute little guy. Look at that. Look at that Freeway right down his back. Perfect Freeway down his back. Asphalt and yellow belly, you can't tell them apart, but when you get both in one snake, this is what it does with no other genes in the mix. Pretty crazy. Before we get into the really crazy snakes in this clutch, I want to cut to Kent's corner, and this is a special one because I've asked him to do something specific. I want him to cover the morphs that are in his snake. Now, I'm not talking about his puppet from IKEA, Eric the Murderer. I'm talking about the actual snake that he now has. You might remember that Gray Family Snakes gifted Kent a real snake, and it's very cool. Kent won't get near the snake, but I'd like him to at least know the genetics. Let's see what he came up with. Hi, and welcome to Kent's Corner, where apparently we're doing homework now. I thought I was done with school, but apparently... Anyway, I received a very dangerous gift. Deadly. And don't worry about me, though, because I'm steering well clear of her strike range, her launch trajectory, all that. Now, I'm not a geneticist, but I was told that she is asthmatic. And Bob hasn't even gotten her an inhaler, which I think is irresponsible. Stop the roll. Can we cut on Kent's corner, please? Kent, she's not asthmatic. She's axanthic. Right. And also Crayola, pastel, and Hetforth. That's right, she's Hetforth. That's not a word. Hetforpide. She's pastel, axanthic, Hetforpide. That's basically what I said. Thank you for watching Kent's Corner. Most of these snakes are reserved at this point already. The waiting list is compiled by these folks, the Horde of Keepers, over on Patreon. So if one of my members is wanting to buy a snake, and I have a clutch hatching at that time, they have access to me and can get on my waiting list. And then once I know what I have in my clutch, I send out the list and people pick their snakes. These folks also get other perks like t-shirts and sticker packs and extra content, exclusive live streams. But I think the best perk of all is that they get to be on this handwritten list that isn't scrolling this time because I have a table here. And special thanks to our channel sponsors, Black Box Cages. Grab these discount codes and get yourself some cages and frozen rodents. I love this little snake. This is a spot nose. I can tell by the head stamp. Very, very easy to tell the spot nose. Also, this line on the back is very spot nosy. Yellow belly or asphalt, because they all are. Orange Dream. Let me see if I can show this orange. So the cool thing is, in the flames that are in the dark part, we get this orange. I mean, the snake is super yellow already, right? This one is also pastel. Super yellow, blushed out head stamp. But then you've got these orange spots along the side in the flames, which is really cool. And inchy as well on this one. Got some super wide eye stripes and some banding that gives us the inchy. This little snake here is one that I had big questions on because I know what a Freeway looks like and I know basically what a Super Asphalt looks like, but sometimes depending on what other genes are in the mix, they kind of look like one another. So I thought this was probably a Super Asphalt. And let's take a look at what Dave had to say about it.
That first one that you sent me it definitely has pastel in it because you can see all the white in it. You can definitely see it. It's a pastel Super Asphalt. The way you can tell is you see that line down its back. You see how like mishmashed it is, and it's got like little branches coming off it. It's not a solid line. That's Super Asphalt. But then again, you know what? It could be it could be Freeway and it's just the pastel that's doing that. So when you get pastel in there, it messes everything up because it messes the pattern up. Yeah. And when you mess with pattern, it could create those little wavy lines in the Freeway. I don't really have any pastel Freeway in my I have a lot of Freeway stuff. I have a lot of Orange Dream, Super Orange Dream, High Intensity, Super Orange Dream, Banana. I just don't have any pastel in my Freeways purposely because I knew that it would screw things up and it would be hard to identify Super Asphalts from Freeways. But
right.
So I'm not sure, I would, if there wasn't pastel here, I would say it's definitely Super Asphalt. But thinking about it, it potentially could be, just pastel Freeway. This is clearly a pastel, but looks quite a bit different than her mom, because Delilah is a pastel Freeway, but Delilah's got some aberrant patterning on her back. And so the important thing was to talk to John, because John has a lot of experience with pastel Freeway, pastel
Super Asphalt combos. John is saying that she is a pastel inchy Freeway. So the inchy is what's giving this aberrant patterning down the sides. He's saying that if this was a Super Asphalt, he would expect to see even more of that aberrant pattern and side stuff. So we're calling this one a inchy pastel Freeway, possibly Orange Dream, because we really can't tell Orange Dream at this point in a snake. So possibly Orange Dream, and it still might be a Super Asphalt instead of a Freeway. We don't know. So here's the cool thing about this snake. Do you remember the video where my friend Amy came over to the house, and since she's seen every single Green Room Pythons video, she was able to tell me all the genetics and all the localities in every snake in the green room? Well, she's getting this little snake, and I'm telling her what morphs we think are in it, but there could be more. How's that for irony? The 100% Morph Whiz is getting a snake with some question marks. Okay, we're down to our last two, and these two are nuts. Here is my other holdback. This girl I'm keeping for sure. She was the first one to hatch out, and she came out, so her head stamp, when she was poking her head out of the egg, I was like, oh, that's spot nose, but what a weird head. And the reason is that this head has some paradoxing on it, and so does the body. She's got these spots of paradox that are so weird to me because they look like sort of burn marks on her side. Paradoxing, for those who don't know, is just pattern that it's rare, but sometimes pattern shows up or some weird thing happens with the pattern that can't be attributed to a morph. And it's not genetic, generally. Some people think that it is in some snakes, and maybe it is, but they haven't proven that. But she has some really cool paradoxing, as well as she's the first one that I saw that I was like, oh, that's Orange Dream. So that told me that Delilah was Orange Dream. And she's clearly a Freeway with a long connected line that's only broken up at the paradoxing spots.
That one's Enchi Freeway because that one has the straight line with no deviations, but it has it's all connected essentially.
Oh, I see. That's why that one's all connected. That's a weird one. I'm keeping that one because it just has crazy paradoxing on it too. Like
and that's why the only place it's not connected or normal is where the paradoxing is. So you can't even count that. Yeah.
Right. And I also think that one might be spot nose just because
it absolutely is. Yeah, there's a lot of white in there on the bottom. Yeah, that's and it's probably pastel too. But and it could be Orange Dream. It's very orangey looking.
It's pretty orange. I'm almost sure it's Orange Dream.
I would keep that back just because it's so different looking, you know.
Yeah.
So this one is an inchy Orange Dream spot nose Freeway. I talked to John about her as well, and he agrees with that assessment. And she's super cool, so I'm keeping her back. All right, time for the last one in the clutch. So my Patreon supporters have already seen this clutch a couple times, and if you were on my live stream last week, you would have seen the one that I just showed, as well as Amy's little Freeway. Oh, come on, young man. So this little guy here, this is the craziest one in my opinion. This was my main big question. Did I have a Super Asphalt or a Freeway? And, I mean, look at the pattern on that. It's so crazy. So this is clearly a pastel because of the blushed out head. The head stamp would suggest spot nose. I also thought it might be inchy. Could possibly be Orange Dream, but I don't think there's any way to tell, so we'll just say it's not Orange Dream at this point. But is it a Freeway or is it a Super Asphalt? Let's see what Dave said.
And the next one is typical Super Asphalt, like this one.
That one, okay. So that one's pastel spot nose, I think.
Yes, definitely. Pastel spot nose. I mean, maybe Orange Dream. I don't know. It's not that orangey, but there is a little bit of. But that's definitely Super Asphalt.
John said the same thing. John said this is definitely a Super Asphalt, and John said also inchy. I'm not sure if Dave said inchy too, but you guys know because you just saw Dave talking about it. So anyway, so what we have here is a pastel, inchy, spot nose, Super Asphalt, possible Orange Dream. This color and pattern reminds me of like a design that you would have in a video game from the 80s. This looks like a retro 80s design, this bright yellow against almost a purple background. I don't know if you can tell with my camera phone B-roll, but the white looks purple. Such a crazy little snake.
Dave Palumbo, thank you so much for your
You're very welcome.
For your thoughts on these. I really appreciate it. I think that's going to help.
Love your channel, and you know, I think that you're doing good stuff. And you know, like I said, I try to educate on my Muscle Serpents University channel, like you're doing, and I try to entertain a little bit, and I try to put a little comic relief into it. But at the end of the day, that's how we all learn. There's no school to go to learn about snakes.
That's right.
You got to find a channel and that's why I called it Muscle Serpents University, my channel, because I wanted to make it a teaching channel, like where people can learn. Because I learned along the way too. Believe me, I have a lot of people in the comments teach me, say, "Oh, I know you're not sure about this, but I can guarantee what you had is actually this." And I'm like, "Holy, I didn't know that. Okay, great." And then I'll talk about it in a future video. So
yeah. Well, that's why we're talking right now, because I love your channel and I've learned a lot from it, and you've got a lot of specialized knowledge that I don't have. So. Thank you very much. We're all
teaching each other all the time. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Pretty cool clutch, right? So, morph market searches, YouTube searches to figure out how the gene that you're trying to look up just looks in its base form, but then how it interacts with other morphs that you're looking at. That's really important because certain morphs interact differently than others, as we saw in this clutch. And also, don't forget to make knowledgeable friends. You can try to contact your favorite YouTubers, but oftentimes those people are hard to get a hold of. So just texting your buddy who knows what he's talking about is probably the best way to go. Do you know what the worst way is to figure out what's in your snake? You do? Oh, you guys already know? You're so smart. Yeah, it's Facebook groups and Reddit. Because you'll get people who probably know less than you trying to tell you what's in your snake. And they'll tell you rudely also. So, I don't recommend those. They're not all bad. Not everyone in those groups are bad. But it's tough to weed through who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. Thanks again to Dave Palumbo at Muscle Serpents University and John at John's Jungle for their help. Hey, remember a few minutes ago when I talked about that video where Amy came over and got all the genetics and all the localities of all my snakes 100% correct? Check that video out. It's right here. I probably could have teed that up better without giving a spoiler. Sorry. But it's fun to watch her do it. So, hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.